This is Johnny Bluestar. Welcome to Threshold, a global media event. Is the universe just a random dance of atoms, or is it a manifestation of a supremely intelligent architect? Can its purpose, or our purpose here on Earth, be adequately assessed? Can we commune with it, know its intentions, cooperate with its direction? Here, we define threshold as a gateway state of awareness, allowing mankind to cross into a place of real cognition. Threshold allows us to approach questions of higher reality through the door of experience, rather than mere belief. Welcome to Threshold, where we tear away the veil from commercial media, bringing our audience and participants into another realm of reality and enhanced communication. Hi, my name is Johnny Bluestar, and I'm your host on what I hope will be for you a remarkable experience in developing your awareness of yourself and the world around you. As the intro stated, we postulate it is possible for the human consciousness to commune and even collaborate with the divine in our search for purpose and meaning in our lives. We call the gateway experience to this wondrous component of human consciousness the threshold. But we ask you not to be too rigid about higher consciousness labels and definitions because it comes in many colors and flavors. As has been stated most articulately, there are many rooms in my Father's mansion. Still, despite the limitations of language, labels are sometimes useful, even nurturing, if you don't take them too seriously. The experience of the divine often leads to a sense of purpose, a feeling that one has been put here for a mission, a specific goal or set of goals defining their own human experience. This sense of mission is one important component of transformation. Our goal is to convey this possibility for transformation. Often people who approach the threshold to pass through it to much higher awareness have indications of their journey long before they experience higher consciousness. As the recently deceased Wayne Dyer, a very helpful influence in my life, has pointed out, the first component may be a kind of benign obsession, a strong, almost inarguable compulsion to be an entrepreneur, to work in a certain type of profession, to be an artist, singer, or even a writer. Even when it is still worse than what you call ordinary consciousness. This desire then is a kind of beacon for the future. Another indication, most importantly, when accompanied by a consciousness of the divine, would be this inner prompting, is when it's reinforced by strange, seemingly unusual coincidences, sometimes small, sometimes momentous. Joining me on this program will be my wife, Debbie Bluestar, who has co-hosted with me before on a holistic healing show called Nature's Workshop. This time she's helping out as someone with a unique fascination with the topic of today's show. Also, thank you, Mike Fox, for piloting the board while we do the show. Today's guest, Patty Greer, is a person with a mission, someone whose life has been touched by the scent of the divine, but also by an awareness of unusual phenomena and communications that transcend ordinary human experience. Patty is a filmmaker, adventurer, and explorer of the wondrous phenomena of crop circles, strange geometric shapes, often of considerable size, carved out in farmers' fields, often documented to have occurred in a remarkably short time. So with great pleasure, I introduce you to Patty Greer. Good morning, Patty.
Good morning, Johnny, and welcome to the world of your new show.
Well, really, thank you. I appreciate that. It's kind of a big leap forward, you might say.
Well, I think that there's never been a more important time for truly conscious shows to be streaming across the world, because I gave away my TV 2 years ago. We have to see the difference between fourth density consciousness and the old paradigm. And your radio show is a sample of one of the new ways where we're stepping into the new world. So thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. You know, a lot of the people who are going to be listening today, they're not going to necessarily know too much about crop circles. So if you could just briefly tell us something about the history of the crop circle phenomena prior to your own direct experience, which of course will be the subject of the show.
It's good you asked me after I just did this for a project that I signed on to. For me, it's never been about the history or other people's research. For me, I was desperate to heal from one of the crimes against humanity, especially in my country, America, where they're putting mercury in people's teeth. And I was poisoned severely in 2004, and it was my desperation to heal after spending ridiculous amounts of money and being lied to by all doctors, or they'd lose their license. I gave up on all of this that I used to hold holy and sacred as the real earth, all these systems that are presently needing to be released into the past as we step into this new way. But that was such an extreme experience for me that it cut me off from everything that used to be important enough so that I could fully be present in the crop circles, throw my arms open, knowing nothing about where I was, what I was doing, just knowing that my physical life as I knew it was over. So for me, it was a complete surrender to go lay in a crop circle, let alone more than 100 of them now, and let everything else go. And it's been a real surrender of all that I ever knew.
Do you mind if we probe just a little bit into your background before this happened to you? Because I think it's important to see how people are changed and the world that they come from, even as a child.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, and I did not answer your question about the history, so don't let me forget to do that.
Yes, I just wanted to have a brief little description of crop circles and something about when they first appeared.
Well, yeah, what you just asked was, my past, what brought me to be so passionate about healing that I would leave everything else behind. I was a musician since I was 6 years old. My dad was a musician, so it is through my core. And I think my entire life, whenever I had an emotion, I would disappear. And they'd find me at the piano. And I'd sing even as a child and write songs to express my feelings. So I've been a musician forever. And I played professionally for 30 years, 33, until I went and got poisoned by this dentist. And the interesting thing was I was a harpist, pianist. So what's the most important aspect of my body is my fingertips. Right. And the mercury from this dentist in my teeth poisoned me so badly, but it only manifested on my fingertips. So I had, my skin was basically like ground beef. And unfortunately, 12 years later, and tens of thousands of dollars spent detoxing, the stuff is out of my teeth, but I'm still dealing with mercury poisoning, and my fingers are still in Band-Aids 12 years later. So this has been a huge, huge experience where it's undeniable. And I say this in the same passion as I say contact is just as extreme of an experience where even though it's not socially acceptable, hi, I've seen a spaceship, hi, I've seen beings, or for me, I've laid in crop circles and been taken to places that are somewhere I had never seen before. So the reality of your own life, you're the only one that's going to know it. So all of these contactees across the world and many that you're going to be interviewing, we really, in the beginning I was like, no, you have to hear me. No, you have to believe this. And now I got my stop sign hand up right now. Just my reaction when people have a negative response like, oh, you're crazy, I say, well, there you go. When people say, there's not one real crop circle, it was those two old guys in England. And I was like, in the past, I would want to explain what I felt I knew. But again, today I just say, well, there you go. Because we can't force people to move into a new paradigm. We have to do this on our own. Until the day when, and we might be in it this month, who knows, when something so extreme happens to this planet and all beings, then all of us are going to have a choice in that moment. And I think that's what we are being prepared for, which we thought was 2012, and it wasn't. But it was in 2012 the beginning of a huge subliminal shift, and we're all still in it now. So my passion with crop circles wasn't about the history, which began, that we know of, in 1776, I believe, is the date. And, of course, it was some paranoid religious person, so they called it the Devil's Ring. but they did put it down in a history book. So at least there is physical mention. And I think there was one even earlier in Staffordshire, England, where they admitted publicly in a written document, and anybody can find this on the internet. I just searched first crop circle, and it's there. But again, what we have today is a bought and paid for media and government and military complex that are not working for the people. And so if we want to learn about UFOs, we're not going to learn it on TV, magazines, newspapers. We have to go to radio shows like yours, internet real researchers like me. But again, you know what I'm learning, Johnny, is that here I am. I'm a speaker at most of the big events for the last 2-3 years. And I'm seeing that there's this thing called the A-listers. And they have to pay the A-listers a very high fee so the rest of us get to be paid something different. And now I'm finding that the people at the top of my field were all funded by Rockefeller. And I think that this A-list speaker thing at UFO conferences today is still reflecting this old agreement that perhaps, I don't know because I didn't sign it, but some people that received delicious amounts of money agreed to say what they're supposed to say.
Well, I think our whole political and commercial culture, but particularly focusing now on our political culture, is bought and sold. So we don't really have anymore a representative democracy because it's not representing us. On the other hand, you have this other problem, which is that I think most people, a majority of people in this country, are asleep. They're not experiencing some of the oppression that's all around them in their lives, but also, in terms of their basic liberties. So this is a real problem, and I think it's validated by not only news media, but also by entertainment media, by the movies and the TV series that we see.
It's all blatantly orchestrated to keep the world asleep and scared of the possibility of aliens. Oh my gosh, they're coming in metal ships and shooting at us. Well, you know what? If any of that was true, which is the consistent Hollywood message that's highly funded, we'd be gone. Because their technology, come on, how many people have seen a ship? Come on, how many people have seen a ray coming off a ship? It's old news to conscious people that are willing to accept, again, the new paradigm reality. And like they used to say about the first man on the boat that discovered America, and they saw the boat, but they didn't know what it was, so they couldn't call it anything. You know the story I'm talking about way back in history. It's a perception issue that people are actually allowing themselves to be stunted by the reality that we are the superior race here.
Well,
we have been fed such a lineage of crap by the bloodlines that own the social aspects of this planet. So the great thing that's happening now, and it has been for years, is that everybody's waking up. On some level, everybody's waking up. And the subliminal implants of those with lots of money. I live in Boulder, Colorado, but I won't even live in Boulder because we were the science experiment of the smart grid.
Oh,
it is still the science experiment. And I shouldn't even elaborate because I want to live, but it's pretty awful when they stop using rats and they start using people and they pick a city. So the residents of Boulder, Colorado have no idea.
There was a strange liquid or fluid on many of the plants in this forest, and that this didn't seem to be very good for the plants. And how did it get there?
Oh, you're reminding me of what I found in my movie, The Shift Has Hit the Fan. I forgot about that liquid that was on all the leaves one day, and then I went back and filmed a week later, and they were all dead in those spots. So, yeah, I can't even believe that we have allowed airplanes to drop stuff on all of us. We're so beyond lost as a species right now that I will do whatever it takes, which is what I'm doing, to keep at it. And the physical human life that I used to lead. I was rich. I had a beautiful home. I've always been successful. As soon as I got into the UFO field, Foster Gamble told me I've been over the target since the start. Because I didn't go to England and lay in the crop circles after I read so-and-so's book or saw his movie or her movie, I didn't do any of that. I went there desperate to heal. And because I did that without misinformation in my brain, I met the circle makers, the real circle makers. And I feel very blessed, even though I'm still dealing with this stuff on my hands from what doctors and dentists are still allowed to do in America, or they'll lose their license if they tell the truth.
I'm thinking of the story of Parsifal, where Parsifal is the knight who gets the Holy Grail, but he's totally uninvolved with the sort of status quo of the knights that are in the Round Table. He's brought up in a farm. He's basically an innocent person, not tampered with by their social status at the time. And he's the one of all these wondrous, powerful knights. He's the one who gets the Grail.
Well, I love that as the punchline, Johnny, because I still feel really innocent. And there's this part of me that has total faith that we're going to make it to the other side. And although I've lost the life I led for probably 50 years, the life that I have now, with so much fewer friends and so much less money and so much less space that I live in and stuff everywhere and things, my focus is on being true to the world. And what I've learned from the circle makers has shifted everything in me to the point where...
I want to note for a moment, because we're going to go to a break, and we would like to play one of your earlier songs, which is accompanied by children and the subtle tones of your harp.
Aww.
It's called Autumn Glow. And this is just part of it, but it's a beautiful, say, angelic type of theme. If I may, I'd like to play that for you.
Thank you so much.
I love this song.
Well, you know, the lyrics that the child will speak in the beginning were what started my contact experience. And the lyrics, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see, that you're about to hear open this song, were words I said in my sleep in 2001. I woke up the man that I was...
after that statement, Patty, but I'm glad that you said that. We're coming in, I think, a little bit right when you start talking about the angel.
Yes.
So here we go.
She's an angel with a bended wing. You know that she is grounded so that she will sing, not fly away. She's an angel with a golden heart. You know that she can make the wind do tricks all around you. On a wind, all the angels flying low. And love, you can feel it. You just angels.
The following is from West Side Warrior, the memoir of Ray Boylan, the Korean War veteran and crime fighter. He was there, fighting in the world's coldest battlefield when the Chinese communists invaded.
Desperate squad members ran past our foxhole yelling, "Get the hell out of here, there's too many of them!" Again, we saw the Chinese soldiers charging in with opium-induced mindlessness, oblivious of our bullets. Again, we heard the bugles and whistles. Climbing out of our foxhole, Bob dropped 2 hand grenades behind us, and I threw one over my shoulder. Bullets whizzing by our heads, Bob and I became bolts of lightning flashing across the mountainside. Like a hideous film, desperate scenes like this played out on the Tokong Pass for 3 days. Sometimes I played in the scene. Sometimes I could only watch and wonder if it were real, or if I'd be suddenly jolted out of my trance by an RKO usher saying, "Hey, did you kids sneak in here?"
To acquire this book, Google westsidewarrior.boylan.kindle. Boylan is spelled Boylan. That's Westside Warrior, Boylan, Kindle.
Nowadays, if you are a serious business person, just getting assistance from someone with a license and a bit of experience may not be sufficient. In fact, your realtor actually needs to be knowledgeable enough to be one of your top advisors. Whether you are facilitating a giant merger or selling your company, there's a lot at stake besides your finances. There is the future value of your current investment, financial freedom, integrity, and overall reputation. If you need this kind of assistance, Sandra LaFlamme is a real estate expert with the experience, reputation, and knowledge qualified to assist you in all your key transactions. Sandra LaFlamme, real estate services with integrity and conscience. Contact her today at 888-366-8070. That's Sandra LaFlamme at 888-366-8070. Since the advent of the internet and particularly Amazon, the world of book publishing has changed. Competition to develop a best-selling book is tough and can be expensive. But there is one kind of book that can be useful without running that gauntlet. That is a book about your own business, the best business card there is. For more information, visit New Galaxy Enterprises or contact me at johnnybluestar@gmail.com. Patty, I wonder if you could describe in more detail the first time you entered into a crop circle and what you expected and what you actually found.
I'd love to. Thank you. And yes, let's focus on the circles because this is why we're here. I went to Glastonbury with my daughter, and I kind of made a deal with her. I said, I have to go to the crop circles. I don't know if I can help my hands in the crop circles, but just come with me. So we go to Glastonbury, and I had printed up, I had done a little research, all the crop circles that had happened, and they were all in this one area called Wiltshire, England, southern England, between Stonehenge and Glastonbury. And in the center is the Avebury Stone Circle, which people don't hear about, but it's the oldest stone circle in Europe. It's bigger than Stonehenge in girth, in diameter, but people don't hear about it. And it is the epicenter of crop circle deliveries for many reasons. So I knew that I was headed to Wiltshire because all these crop circles were in this one area, and I had them printed in my little backpack. So my daughter and I wake up the first day. We go in the store that everybody had said. That's where you go to ask crop circle questions. And I asked the gentleman, are there any crop circles? Because we just got here from America. Ooh, don't say that in Europe. And, so he just looked at us. And he said, no, we haven't had any yet this year. And I said, excuse me? I thought you were the store that knew about crop circles. And he was kind of arrogant. And so I pulled 14 pages out of my purse, put them down on his desk, and I said, so what is it? Is it we're American? Is it that we're women? Why would you, if you're the store that knows, not tell us? Because here's 14 that have already happened in the last month. And so I took my daughter and I said, thanks anyway. And we left. I said, do you need these copied so that you can tell people? I mean, there's this part of me like, ooh, welcome to England. I didn't care for that. But then the next store was great. We looked around Glastonbury, which is this marvelous town of Druid folk. And I said, oh, let's go in that store. And my daughter said, Mom, it's called Witchcraft. And I said, don't worry, sweetie, we'll walk counterclockwise. So we go in this store, and the lady at the front desk is gabbing with two friends, and they're just all excited about something. And my daughter and I walk counterclockwise around the store, and finally the lady's friends leave, and she comes to the back, and she says, hi, can I help you? Oh, wait, I don't help anyone. Literally turned around and walked away. And my daughter and I are like, what planet are we on? I mean, this is weird. So we went to the front desk, and I said, I don't know if you were kidding or not, but we're actually here looking for crop circles. Can you tell us you have any idea where to go? Where's Wiltshire? So she said, oh, interesting you'd ask. Hold on. She goes out the door and screams up the block, Vicki, Victoria, come here. So they had just told her, and all the excitement when we walked in was, they said, there's a new crop circle in Wiltshire. We're going tomorrow morning. So she introduces us, and I was really excited. 10 in the morning, we had our little rental car between these ladies' store and our B&B, and so that's where we met. And we followed these two women to an hour and a half away to Wiltshire and drove right to this farm field. And as we're following them, in their little, they had like a really small rental, they had their own car with two Great Danes, and stuffed in the back window was a harp, like a little Celtic harp. And for me, you know, an hour and a half driving behind a harp, you know, trying to heal my fingers, I really felt like, whoa, okay, I hear you. I'm in the right place, right time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just really felt like, this makes sense. So we get to the farm field, and the woman says, you know, this is where they told us. And we look over, and you can't really see anything because all the wheat or the barley, or they call all the grain the corn over there, it's all the same height, so you can't really tell where it falls in unless somebody's already found the crop circle and you can see their head bobbing up and down. It's really hard to find them. But the women had been clearly told, you go to this farm, you park on the right, you'll see a broken tree, and you climb over the fence, and you go 5 tram lines to the left, and a tram line is where the tractors drive into the field to water or fertilize, whatever. There's these little like road marks where the tires go. So crop circle etiquette, we're told, you walk in the tram lines. And then we had to go 5 tram lines to the left. And sure enough, we get there. And so I'm walking with one Victoria, who turned out to be the archdruidess of Stonehenge. Not just any Vicky or Victoria, but she was somebody very sacred and important. And when we got into the formation, as we're walking in, all of a sudden, the hair stood up on my arms. I had goosebumps head to toe. I was like, my heart was pumping. I was just like, oh my God, what's going on? I don't see anything. And I looked at my daughter, and she goes, yes, Mom, I feel it too. And I look at the woman behind, Victoria, and she's just nodding. And I'm still not getting who she is. So I knew we were close to something because the electrostatic energy, the electromagnetic field was really enhanced, and my body was just bounding with this frequency that was different than 10 feet ago. So I stepped backward, and it went away. I stepped forward, and it was like, holy moly, something's going on here. And about 10, 20 feet further, the wheat was laid in a perfect circle. And it was a little centerpiece, sprigs of the wheat standing up in the middle, and it looked like one motion where it was just swirled down. And the feeling was breathtaking. And I looked at my kid, and I looked at the woman. We're all big eyes, like, you know, we just saw something for the first time, and we stepped into it. And it really was like entering a different paradigm reality because everything is energetically so enhanced. And I knew in that moment this was not a fake deal. This was something different. And in that moment, I was really taken by the blessing of where we were standing. Even though it was raining, even though we were cold, the wheat had been wet for an hour or so. Now our hips, our jeans, our boots, everything is soaked from the waist down. And so we're in the formation. It's still drizzling rain, and we're walking very quietly. I mean, we couldn't speak. It was breathtaking. And we walked around this circle, and it was absolutely perfect. And then there was this small trail to a second circle. But it wasn't a circle. It was a very weird shape, and I was like, what is this shape? But the walls were meticulous. And the wheat, when I bent down to look at it, where it was bent and laid toward the ground were these bubbles. It wasn't like it was bent and broken by humans. It was this biophysical change in the grain itself, in hundreds of thousands of grains themselves, have this bubble and an elongated, stretched bubble of bend in the wheat, and it was absolutely stunning to see that something had hit this field and left this frequency that was still very palpable to all of us. So we get in the second formation, which wasn't a circle, but it was part of the formation and part of the message. And it was flawless. Again, the walls were perfect. The swirl looked like one circle, but there was an area that looked like somebody had taken a hacksaw and just hacked it up because the wheat was broken and torn and shredded, and it was clearly something or someone had done specific damage to this crop circle in this area that was maybe a 2x3 rectangle of just messiness. And we were, staring at it in the rain, and we weren't sure what it was because it was all of us were in our first crop circle. So I stepped away and I started to run my pendulum that was in my pocket, and I was asking, is this real? And my guide said yes. And I said, what is that torn area? Is that real? And they, after a few questions, the answer was that it was done by a human. And so here I am, like really, shaking my head, scratching my head, going, gosh, this is really interesting. And my daughter said, Mom, I'm cold. Can I go back to the car? And I looked across the wheat field. I could see the car over there, and she's, 18, so it's not like I have to be too worried about her finding her way. And I could see all across the wheat to the woman, Vicky, that didn't come with us to the crop circle. She stayed near the cars with the dogs and the harp, and up there, so I knew that my daughter would be fine going to hang with Vicky. So she goes across the wheat, and I look over, and Victoria is running her pendulum. So it was like, aha, we're doing the same in this way. So when we both finished, I said, what did you get? I ran mine too, and she said, I got that it's real, but that some human did this. And I said, bingo, I got the very same read. So we had this nice meeting, and I found out who she was. She found out who I was, which is just a musician from America that just got poisoned. And trying to heal myself because I gave up on humans to heal me. And so we had this interesting meeting of the minds, and I hear all of a sudden this man yelling across the wheat with an English accent, and it just echoed in the rain, and he's yelling at my daughter. So I'm in a twit. All of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, God, I got to go protect her. And I barely remember running, but I ran really fast out of the crop circle to go protect my kid. Right. And luckily, when I got there, my daughter had already done the talking because I wouldn't have been as intelligent. The man is yelling when I got closer, did you not see the keep out sign? Did you not see private property? You are standing on my land. I can shoot you. And my daughter said, lo siento, señor, no entiendo inglés, solamente español. I was out of my mind with joy. I was like, oh, God, I would have never thought of that. So I come up panting, hay problema, ¿qué pasó? And here comes Victoria behind me, and I thought, oh, no, don't blow it. And she heard us. And she spoke Spanish, too. And the farmer huffed and puffed, and he couldn't blow our house down. So he turned about and stomped away, very angry that he couldn't affect us with his rage. And you know what he had on him? He was a big, jolly, red-skinned, big-belly farmer, and he had this white strap across his front, which was holding a big purse on his back, and in that purse was a hacksaw. And in that moment, I went, oh, my God, he's the one that hacked up the wheat in his field. Oh, why would a farmer do that? Why would he? So I left my first crop circle with that many questions, and in all the years that have come, of course, the answers have been very clearly given to me, along with the information of why we are receiving messages in fields of wheat, corn, barley, oats, Brussels sprouts. We've seen crop circles in grass, short grass in parks, where all of a sudden there will be this raised, darker green circle, which I know most people have seen, because when I saw the photos of that, I went, oh, my God, I've seen that before. And the following year, those same circles in city parks that had that raised green circle, if it just looked like freak, had mushrooms in a circle, which is why the ancients called crop circles fairy rings.
Wow. And
the paranoid ones called them devil circles. But, I don't give that much credence. I'm really more about the reality of what is. And what is that crop circles have an enhanced electromagnetic field. Crop circles, until foolish adults come in or humans come in and have to destroy it for whoever paid them to do so, they're perfect. They're enhanced, they're perfect, they're immaculate, and they are giving us information. And when we look at decades, history of crop circle documentations, we see that they come in codes, binary, Morse code, even Braille. They come in mathematics, sacred geometry, Fibonacci sequence, the Mandelbrot. I mean, all of the Platonic solids are found in crop circle patterns. And when we look at all those patterns in one spell, and we sit and just focus on pictures of crop circles, all of a sudden, there's these places in our mind, these lost DNA strands are reawakened, and all those ancient symbols being put before our eyes, through the heart, through the mind, are like these compressed files that explode into tremendous amounts of data and wisdom within us that has just been subdued for years. These messages are here on purpose. And for 9 years, I pointed to the sky and said, thanks, ETs. The truth is, they're initiating from inner Earth. These crop circles are coming out of the Earth, initially, meeting up with our conscious mind, humanity, and extraterrestrial frequencies and technologies to pull it off, to bring these messages to all of us, from all of us.
Well, in a minute or two, we're going to take another break. And when I'm thinking about the song that we're about to play from you, it's called Are You the One? And I'm wondering if this isn't a little bit of the song that's being sung to you by the crop circles.
Ah, new way to look at that song.
Well, sometimes love songs have a measure of the divine hidden in them, I think.
Absolutely.
So let's listen to Patty and this next song called Are You the One?
Are you the one gonna set my heart free? Are you the one gonna take me? Baby, now I know my heart, and I feel these feelings. Do you really wanna know? Take me deep into your heart. Show me, are you the one gonna dance me round till the morning comes? Are you the one gonna let me be your only one? Show me tricks that I've never seen. Let me be the queen of your life. Right now, take me.
New Galaxy Enterprises is a media company specializing in wide-ranging content like novels, nonfiction books, screenplays, commercial advertising, web content, etc. One of our most esteemed providers is illustrator Robert W. Zalo. I work on all my most important projects like book covers, logos, web design elements with Robert. As an illustrator, he worked on the Ignatz-nominated comic book, The Expert's Guide to Killing Things That Go Bump in the Night. His skills encompass advertising, magazine illustrations, gaming, comic books, TV production, and scenic painting. His clients include Comcast, Adelphia, Haven Talent, ForceWorks, High Octane Theater, Star Creative Advertising. If you wish to contact Robert, go to JohnnyBlueStar.com and let me know. That's JohnnyBlueStar.com. For artist, illustrator Robert Zalo, an essential component of all the work we do. Maybe he can help you too.
It is the 15th century. El Tesoro de Cielo, a Spanish treasure ship, sends a scouting expedition to a strange island. Golden statues surrounding them prove the enormity of their find. Suddenly, hordes of ghoulish creatures with scaly green flesh and skeletal wings descend upon them from the sky.
What do you think of this, Rufio?
These creatures are fragile, Captain. We can take them with our swords.
They seem supernatural. Who knows what powers they possess?
Fallen angels, weakened by their treason.
My God! Are you saying you're Newfoundland, the devil's host?
I'm saying, whatever they are, we can take them. Do any of you cowards dare join me?
Up against sharp knife-like nails and hideous fangs, the men's swords rip into slimy green flesh. Though black blood pours copiously from their half-naked bodies, creatures miraculously persist. Can the crew survive this bloody, cursed battle?
Find out more by Googling The Thrice Born, a new sci-fi supernatural novel by Carlos Lopez Avery and Johnny Bluestar. Google with the words Carlos Johnny Kendall, The Thrice Born. That's Carlos Johnny Kendall, The Thrice Born.
Gonna set my heart free. Are you the one gonna take me? Baby, now I know my heart and I feel these feelings. Do you really wanna know? Take me deep into your heart. Show me, are you the one gonna dance me round till the morning comes? Are you the one gonna let me be your only one? Show me tricks that I've never seen. Let me be the queen of your life. Right now, take me.
If you like Threshold Radio, a program dealing with core issues affecting our personal, political, and spiritual lives, and advocates the creation of an enlightened and informed citizenry throughout the world, then you might think of supporting your business and our message by advertising on our show. If interested, just go to www.thresholdradio.com or contact me at johnnybluestar@gmail.com. Hi, Patty.
Yeah.
Listen, one of the things that's really intriguing is like your statement that these spheres, I believe that the balls of light are coming from the earth. And could you explain more about that?
Well, I'm still trying to get over the lyrics of what I just sang. And the fact that you pointed something out to me that I never saw.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Take me. Hello? Did I put out the invitation? Take me deep into your heart. Show me things I've never seen before. I had no idea that all this music, 33 years of playing music, would become the soundtracks to all of my movies so far. I mean, all 6 of my movies, and I want to throw it out to your audience. Actually, if you were on the website, pattygreer.net, you would have a barrage of crop circle photos to look at while we do the radio show. I always try and remember to throw that in because as you listen to information about crop circles, if you're looking at them, like I said, those compressed files explode in your mind. You really do get the messages when you just stop thinking and open yourself up to these messages. So the balls of light, oh, Johnny, it's what got me in trouble. And I don't say what got me in trouble, but because I was innocent, I didn't realize that somebody funded had told the world that the famous Oliver's Castle footage was fake. And I knew that it was fake because everybody knows it's fake. And the Oliver's Castle footage is the only footage that the world knows about where you can see balls of light lay a crop circle down in seconds. Have you and Debbie seen that footage?
Well, I've seen it. I saw it yesterday.
Oh, good.
And it is truly amazing that it happened. It would be nice if there was a lot more of this footage. But you have to take whatever you get.
Well, the footage has enough in it. But the interesting thing was, when I made my first movie, had no idea I was making a movie. When I took that footage home and had permission to stick it at the end of my movie, or to just show it to my friends, which is why I thought I took 1,100 photos, hired a film crew to film me and my friends in the crop circles. I mean, I was really high on the mercury poisoning, and I didn't realize what I was doing. But I think, to be honest, now that I look back, I think that I was easily manipulated. And I think that as I listen to Are You the One, very interesting to look at that song differently, and also Autumn Glow, and realize that that's in all 6 of the movies, that it's not what you see, it's what you don't see, which you didn't play. You started with the music. But, we have to look at our lives from somehow pulling back to realize who we are. And I think that the texting and the distractions of the world today keep most people very far from really realizing how our life has gone in a huge circle, and it keeps circling until we kind of put ourselves on a different path.
I was reading a sort of a biographical account by a novelist named Fritz Peters, and this is something that actually happened to him as an example. He was in World War II, and basically he was in a tent with some of his associates. They were in the army, and the tent was bombed. And all the associates in the tent were killed. He was outside the tent, and this thing flew up in the air and landed at his feet, and it was a typewriter.
Huh?
Yeah, and he went on to become a writer. So you never know. There are certain things that happen to you in the past that are tremendously significant, but you don't get their meaning until many, many years later.
Yes. Well, in 2006, like I said, was the first time I went to the crop circles. And when I had that first experience, I knew I wanted more. So I came back the next year, 2007, by myself for 9 weeks and stayed in the epicenter. And I did it in 2008 also. Once I had that first experience where the hair stood up on my arms, and I saw that the farmer had wrecked the crop circle because I learned later he didn't want people on the land, or perhaps the military instructed him to scratch it up so that they could point and say, it's fake. But it wasn't. The hair stands up on your arms. It's like, why don't you convince me that I didn't just eat an apple when I got it stuck in my teeth? So it's what it is. This world outside ourselves is going to be different than the world within. And when we began our show, we were going back and forth with Skype or not. I was praying that Skype would work because I actually live in a cabin, and my fox was coming in and out of the house this morning, and I thought, wouldn't that be fun for people to actually see that when we let go of that fear of wildlife or fear of ETs, we actually allow it to be a part of our lives. And the training and the craziness of the world and the media today is really taking us away from true nature. And my surrender and my used to be physical, extraordinary life is a lot more extraordinary now, but in the realm of spirit. And I feel this almost apathy with people's perceptions of me because you cannot be in ufology and worry about people judging you. You just can't. It's not socially acceptable yet, especially if you're dealing on the level where I am, where I'm so convinced that there's nothing left in me that's more important than helping prepare all of us to get ready for the fact that very soon there won't be an option to not believe. And I don't know how they're going to pull it off, but we're definitely really, really close. So these balls of light you asked about coming out of the earth. Now, this is one of the strangest stories, and it's in my new movie that I'm working on now, which is all about my undeniable to self experiences with the circle makers who are non-human, and I don't know what planet they are. I've never asked. I've never seen what they look like. They've never shown me other than the balls of light. But let's talk about that in a second. How did I really learn about those balls of light coming out of the earth was this amazing scientist, the only one in the world that ever went public. And he's so brilliant that he's listed in the Guinness Book of World Records for more scientific papers accepted by the only two scientific journals in the world that are, highly respected. He had 9 papers in these magazines.
You're talking about Dr. Levengood, isn't that his name?
Well, we never say doctor because he wasn't. He's William Levengood. And William Levengood was offered a PhD.
We need to discuss this in the next segment because we're coming up to the unfortunate end of this first hour. And I know how important his work is, and I would like you to go into it in more detail. Would that be okay?
Absolutely, because he's a chapter on his own.
Well, I think in the next hour we're going to discuss more detail, some of the great important discoveries that you've made, and have some of these conjoined with actual science that's being done right now.
Absolutely. Well, metaphysics and science met in my mind and my heart last year in the autumn. And it was actually William Levengood from the other side, he died 2 years ago, who brought me to the farm and showed up.
I have to take a break now, Patty, and so we'll see you on the other side of the hour, okay?
Wonderful.
This is Johnny Bluestar. I've worked as a lyricist with Patricia Welch for over 5 years, along with Russian composer Edgar Ahrens, a friend and colleague. Her ability as a singer is simply amazing. She brings a unique and dramatic flair to every song she sings. Over the next few months, we shall be releasing a number of these songs, part of an album called Hadley's Castle. Meanwhile, Patricia has been busy creating a super enjoyable collection of classic standards in an exciting 46-song, 3-CD collection.
Music for great entertaining introduces Cocktails, Dinner, and Dessert with Patricia Welch. 3 hours of continuous music. 46 of the all-time classic standards, spanning decades of hit songs. Going to a friend's home for dinner? Cocktails, Dinner, and Dessert with Patricia also makes the perfect hostess gift. This 3-CD compilation is the perfect background music that sets just the right mood for any dinner party.
I'm crazy for feeling so lonely. There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy.
To purchase this album, just go to patriciawelch.com/CD. That is patriciawelch.com/CD. You won't be disappointed.
Boots in Manhattan is a coming-of-age novel by Ray Boylan and Johnny Bluestar. It is about a young Tom Boots Raymond who grows up in New York in the 1940s. He was a member of a street gang.
My friends and I were about to start our own game of stickball when Rabbit Lacey, the head of the Rattlers, came up to us and tried to move in on our game. We were called Dwarves, the youngest members of the stupid gang.
Hey, Kevin, I need you to get some gloves and some stuff I left at my place.
No, this is our game.
Hey, are you my good little dwarf or what?
You've been calling me a dwarf since I was 6. We're not your personal slaves, pal.
Hey, what is this? A dwarf rebellion? All right, big guy. We ditched the dwarf thing. We make you guys regular rattlers.
No, it's too late.
He looked at Jay and me. We looked away. Rabbit was now angry, and he pushed Kevin hard with the palms of his hand. Kevin tried to ram him in the stomach, but he stepped aside, throwing Kevin into the curb where he fell to the ground, bleeding profusely at the knee. Still, he managed to get up.
My street.
Kevin shouted at Rabbit, pointing at him with an angry index finger.
Find out more by Googling Boots in Manhattan, a 1940s coming-of-age novel, part 1 of the novel series The Foot Soldier by Ray Boylan and Johnny Bluestar. Google with the words Boots in Manhattan, Ray Johnny Kindle. That's Boots in Manhattan, Ray Johnny Kindle.
Threshold Radio is owned by New Galaxy Enterprises, a full-service media content development company. Sponsors not only get ads on the program, but are offered packages including website design, graphics, audio, video, music, and jingles. Programs are archived and continue to be promoted beyond their first broadcast. Visit us at www.thresholdradio.com or contact me at johnnybluestar@gmail.com.